You know, sometimes the biggest secrets, they're hidden in the smallest packages. And today, we're gonna try and unlock a mystery that's been sealed shut for, get this, 3,500 years. And it's all inside this one, pretty curious-looking clay pot.
All right, let's just jump right in. Take a look at this. On the left, that's an opium poppy capsule, after the flower petals have all fallen off. And on the right, that's a little juglet made in Cyprus way back in the late Bronze Age. I mean, the resemblance is just, it's uncanny, right? The shape, that little neck that looks like a stalk, even the bottom part looks just like the poppy's crown. For years, archaeologists were asking themselves, is this just a crazy coincidence?
So that striking similarity, it led to one simple, but honestly pretty profound question. Was this little pot specifically designed to hold one of the ancient world's most powerful substances? For 3,500 years, it was all just a guessing game. But now, oh yeah, science has an answer.
All right, so let's start with the object at the very heart of this story. So the official name for this thing is a base ring juglet. And these things were everywhere back in the day, traded all across the Eastern Mediterranean more than 3,000 years ago. Then, back in 1962, this archaeologist Robert Merrilees, he comes out with this really bold theory. He said, hey, these aren't just pretty little pots, they're for holding opium. And his evidence? It was all visual. I mean, you've got the poppy shape, obviously. But get this, some of them even have these painted stripes that look exactly like the little cuts you'd make on a poppy to get the good stuff out.
But here's what makes this particular juglet, the one from the British Museum, so incredibly special. It's one of the very few that survived completely intact. It's still sealed shut. And when they took an X-ray, you can see there's still something in there, a dark residue perfectly preserved. This was the golden ticket, a chance to finally scientifically test that 60-year-old theory. Okay, but before we get to the juicy lab results, we really need to pause and understand why this is such a massive deal. See, opium wasn't just another thing people traded, like olive oil or pottery. This was a substance with a deep, powerful, and truly global history.
Yeah, this isn't some forgotten plant. We're talking about something cultivated for over 5,000 years. The ancient Sumerians, they called it hulgil, which means the joy plant. Kind of tells you something, right? The Egyptians had huge fields of this stuff. Alexander the Great, he's the one who brought it to Persia and India. And then, fast forward a few millennia, and it becomes this huge tool of colonial power. The British East India Company basically controlled the whole trade and even fought wars over it. So finding it inside this little juglet, well, that would be a direct physical link to that incredible, sprawling history.
But here's the thing. Ancient people didn't just think of opium as, a recreational drug. Not at all. Their understanding was way more nuanced. They saw it as this powerful medicine, but also as something really dangerous, a real double-edged sword.
Let's take a look at Persian medicine, for example. We're talking about a system that's been around for 3,000 years. They had this core concept called mizaj, which is basically temperament. The idea was that everything, people, food, medicine, you name it, had a specific quality based on a mix of hot, cold, wet, and dry. And where did opium fit in? They classified it as having a cold and dry temperament. And believe me, that wasn't just some random label. It was the key to their entire understanding of how it affected the body.
And this is where it gets really brilliant. They actually called opium a conflicting compound. They thought it had two distinct parts. First, there's this fleeting, warm component that gives you that initial buzz, that little bit of energy, but that feeling, it vanishes pretty quick. And then the second part, the dominant, cold component, takes over. And that's what they believed caused the weakness, the numbness, basically a draining of the body's own innate warmth.
And this chart really shows you just how detailed they got. They didn't just say opium is bad for you. No, they had theories for why, and they prescribed specific treatments. So if you had muscle and tissue problems, they figured it was because the opium was drying you out. So the fix was eat and drink things that add moisture back. Makes sense, right? A weak stomach, that was because of that cold and dry temperament. So they'd tell you to rub certain oils over your stomach to warm it up. And if you were getting irritable, they thought it was because your brain was getting too dry. It was this whole sophisticated system of cause, effect, and remedy.
Okay, so with all that incredible historical and medical background in mind, let's get back to our little sealed juglet. A team of scientists set out to finally, once and for all, crack the chemical code of what was inside. This is where it becomes a real modern-day detective story.
And right away, the very first clue was a total surprise. The stuff inside, it wasn't the hard, gummy resin you'd expect from raw opium.
Instead, it was this thick, dark, oily gunk, and sure enough, the analysis confirmed it. A really, really old, degraded plant oil. So right off the bat, the simple theory, oh, it's just a lump of opium, was already getting a lot more complicated.
So the question becomes, how on earth do you find a molecular needle in a 3,500-year-old haystack? Well, here's how they did it. Step 1, they used this tiny little microprobe to very carefully pull out a sample. We're talking just a few milligrams. Step 2, they put it through the specialized chemical process to basically wash out and isolate any potential opium molecules. They're called alkaloids from all that old oil. And finally, step 3, they use these incredibly powerful, super sensitive machines to hunt for the specific molecular fingerprints of those alkaloids.
Now, here's the really clever part. They knew they couldn't just look for morphine, right? That's the most famous part of opium, but it also breaks down pretty quickly over thousands of years. So instead, the scientists were smarter. They targeted the tougher, more stable alkaloids, specifically papaverine and the thebaine. Think of these as the hardy survivors, the molecules that would still be hanging around after all that time.
So, after all that careful work, the deep dive into history, the archaeological theory, the cutting-edge chemistry, the moment of truth had finally arrived.
And here it is. In 2018, the Royal Society of Chemistry published the results, and the paper says, and I'm quoting here, papaverine and thebaine were detected in the juglet residue. Boom, that was it. For the very first time, we had hard, scientific, chemical proof connecting these iconic little pots directly to the opium poppy.
Now, to be clear, the amounts they found were tiny. We're talking as low as 2.6 picograms per milligram of residue. And a picogram, that's 1/1,000,000th of a gram. It's almost nothing, which just goes to show you how ridiculously sensitive this analysis was. And it also explains why all the previous tests on broken, unsealed pots just came up empty.
But, and here's the final twist, the old theory was simple. The juglet held raw opium, but the new evidence? It paints a much more interesting picture. The juglet didn't just hold pure opium resin. It held a plant oil that had opium alkaloids in it. And the analysis of the oil itself even points to a likely source, poppy seeds.
And that leaves us with a brand new, fascinating puzzle. It's like by solving one mystery, we've just opened up another one. If this wasn't just a little container for a raw drug, then what exactly was it? Was it some kind of perfumed oil? Maybe a potent liquid medicine, all mixed and ready to go? Or was it something else entirely? A substance used in sacred religious rituals? The chemical evidence is finally in, but you know what? The real story of this little juglet, it feels like it's far from over.